All right, hey everybody, we get to celebrate two book birthdays today. So, the Fire Inside and If the Seas Catch Fire. So, books 2 and 3 of the Fire series. Today is an extra special day because today is my father's birthday. And that's sort of why I picked that date um, for the second book. Was because it was my dad's birthday. I picked the first date for book one because it was Valentine's Day. I mean, how could you not pick Valentine's Day? But then I was like, oh, the second book wasn't going to be coming out in February. And instead, I went, well, let's pick March 7th. Exciting giveaways, trivia, some behind the scenes stuff, and more. So if you're not here live and you want to enter in the giveaway, just make sure you comment on this video and make sure you like and subscribe because I will be checking. I will be checking. So to enter in the giveaways, you have to be like the video and you have to subscribe. So um, so let's get started with book the first book, which is book 2, The Fire Inside. Of course, all the titles Fire series have fire in the fire or some form of, you know, thank you, Jen. Some form of, fire related word in the title. And the second book, it was I was searching around for quotes and things like that. And so I gotta remember the full quote. Of course, I didn't have this pulled up ahead of time. Of course not. Uh, it's not the best place to go, surely. Um, I have a whole folder. Let's see. The Fire Inside. Might be enough. So let me talk a little bit while I'm trying to find my writer's notebook. Um, so the main couple in this book are Tony and Anna, and I'm not really sure who I had first. I know Tony was first. I'm not sure what her name was going to be first, but we went with Anna. I went with Anna because I met someone in college and we became friends. We became friends. Her name was Anna, and we're still friends. But yeah, we became fast friends in psychology classes. And she was so brave. Because she stood up with me. We stood up together in a class and told the professor we did not feel prepared, that we did not feel he had done his job. And so yeah, she's brave, she's fantastic, and I wanted to use her name. So the quote was, "I survived because the fire inside me burned brighter than the fire around me." I'm trying to remember who that quote is from. Oh, not like that. Blah, 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 blah. Um, um, but that was the where I got the name for the book. And I I was so lucky. It came out on the 22nd. The book was published on March 7th, 2022. So yeah. Um, and I knew whose story it was going to be because if you watch the previous book birthday, I had sat down and plotted out the 13 book series way ahead of time. And so I knew it was going to be Tony's book because I knew that Tony was going to leave. I had to have Tony leave in book one, because there was no way that the villain, or the antagonist, as I should say, was going to get to do what she needed to do. She's more of a villain, really. I mean, she does murder her whole family. So she was pretty whoop whoop. But I knew I needed him to leave. And I knew one of the things that would make him leave was if someone really needed him more than the people he was with needed him. And there's this bond that happens when a SEAL team is created. And I mean, they've gone through everything. And so I knew that if their admiral, was in trouble and his daughter was in trouble, the first person he would call would be Tony. So I knew Tony would leave because Tony is based off of the Captain America kind of character arc. Um, I mean, I did heavy research on that, and it was like I found out how you really write a Captain America character, um, is you have to break them. You have to break them, and it's all about their duty versus their heart. And yeah, so I knew Tony would leave. So I knew I loved the fact that I had that, and so I made sure that we had these Easter eggs at the end of Into the Fire of, what was happening to Tony um, while he was away. And every time I write a book or a story, I try to learn something new and I try something different. And at the time, I was watching a huge amount of Criminal Minds. Um, and it became a running joke in the house that if I was watching a true crime documentary or a show like Criminal Minds, something like that, and all of a sudden I'd go, ooh, and I grab a notebook and I would start writing. And it became this running joke in the house, like, oh no, there she goes again. And so I was reading up on different ways to open your story. And I really loved the Criminal Minds cold open. So there's this, it's called a cold open, like where you get a bit of the story right before the theme, like the credits and, the opening credits and everything. It's called a cold open. And so if you've ever watched Criminal Minds or shows like that, sometimes you'll have this very traumatic or very exciting or something like that scene, and then they'll go into the theme song and give you the opening credits and have pictures of whatever. um and I really loved Criminal Minds' cold opens. They were so engaging. You were like, ooh, ooh. And one that stuck with me was one where this person was using this drug on people that kind of took away their ability to use their muscles. So they're there and they're conscious, but they can't do anything. Like they can't move at all. And so they're taking very shallow breaths because their chest can't actually move. Um, and I was just like, the thought of being trapped in your body and someone doing something to you and you are not being able to reciprocate, or to basically save yourself. And I was like, oh, that's a good one. And so I wanted the beginning of to be like a Criminal Minds cold open. I wanted you to go, oh shit. And I remember the beta read on the book, because some people are like, would she even, because you're watching a show and you're like, why would you go upstairs if there's a bad guy in the house, right? Um, because there's no exit upstairs. What were you thinking, right? Um, so I kind of wanted that experience because Anna pulls some things that are just not smart. Luckily, she was on the phone with her father. If you've read the opening, she's on the phone with her father. And she comes home and she's kind of distracted because she's just gotten out of a abusive relationship. And so she's finally getting to connect with her friends again. And so she's so excited that she went out with her girlfriends and it's feeling normal again. And now that this guy is out of her life. But of course, we all know abusive relationships, the first week is the most dangerous week, um, for you if you're trying to get out of an abusive relationship. And so she comes home and her door is ajar. Her front door is ajar. And she's like, oh, I must not have pulled it all the way or not locked it. And her dad's like, no, get back in your car, call the cops, you know, do the sensible thing. He is the voice of reason. He is definitely trying to be the voice of reason. And she's not listening to the voice of reason. So I really wanted her dad to almost play like your part as the reader of, come on, don't do this. And so she opens the door with her foot and she's like, Dad, it's fine. It was my own fault. And she's going around the room and she's like, oh, this is a mess. I don't remember leaving it a mess. And so I was a little worried that some people would be like, oh no, 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 no. And then one of my beta readers was like, I've so not locked my door. I was like, what? And yeah, I've not locked my door and gone in the house anyway. And I'm like, really? I was like, I had at least call somebody to be there with me when I would go in if my door was ajar and unlocked. Uh, because I guess I watched too many shows. I'd be like, oh no. I'd be like, Christy, could you come over and I'm not getting out of the car yet. I'm not gonna unlock. I've got back in the car. I'm not unlocking the car until you show up. Um. So so yeah, I worried about that, but the beta readers were like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I love beta readers, and I love how the book, you already get to see beta and arc readers. You already get to see how your book is no longer yours anymore, and how it takes on a life of its own inside the reader's mind. So I highly recommend, if you are an author, please do book read, do beta reads and alpha reads and arc reads and things like that. Because yeah, um, uh, I also I worried a bit about Tony's family, because Tony's family is very stereotypical Italian. And one of my beta readers was like, I hate that they're stereotypical Italian, but at the same time, I've met that family. And I was like, yes, I know. I've met that family myself. It's like, um, and so, yeah, the thing is that Jen has met that family. Her shop, at one time she owned a shop or co-owned a shop, and right down the strip is an Italian restaurant that's family owned. Yeah, five doors away, and is in a family owned Italian restaurant. It's a fantastic Italian restaurant. They have, mwah, chicken rollatini is the best dish. I'm just saying. Um, but yeah, so they're a few doors down, and the matriarch came in, and she was like, "I want candles that will make my office not smell like tomatoes and garlic." And they would bring them food and let them try stuff, we let you test this, and they were very first, you know, newcomers to America. You know, they're, you know, weren't first generation Italian, you know, American. They were, you know, they were, and so it's like, yeah, you know, sometimes the stereotypes are real, and so I did want Tony's family, but I wanted that contrast, um, between Tony and Anna. That Anna's kind of, has a not a strained relationship, but a strained relationship. Like, she loves her father, but he was, you know, military, and he made decisions to help her so she wouldn't be traveling everywhere, and so he let his sister take care of her, so that way she could graduate in one location. And so she spent a lot of time away from her mother, and so there's that distance of and I wanted to have that because my father and I, um had sort of that distance where we didn't quite understand each other sometimes. And because my poor father, was ex-military and very conservative, well, somewhat conservative, you know, Republican, very patriotic, um, and he had a moderate pagan goth daughter, uh, who's bisexual. I mean, my dad did not get the you know, so sometimes we didn't see eye to eye, and sometimes I remember looking at him going, "Do you even know me?" Because his fears would override his knowledge of me. Like, at one point he told me that he didn't tell me no dating my then, boyfriend, who became my husband and now is my ex-husband. Um, that he didn't tell me no because he was terrified that I would drop out of high school, or I'd get pregnant and drop out of high school. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Do we know each other?" So yeah, I wanted that kind of, I did kind of base Anna and her dad's relationship a little bit on my dad and I's relationship, and that way that we don't quite get each other, and see the world the same way. And the biggest example of that, for me, was I was in high school, and I remember that, sex changes were not really big. Like, the you didn't know a lot of people had a sex change operation, um and had, you know, that were trans. And because back then you had to live as, you know, your, the sex you wanted to be for over a year. You had to, you know, um go through therapy. There were lots of steps that you had to take before, you know, all the stages. And I remember my dad was complaining about this person at work who was transitioning from male to female. And understanding now that for my dad, that whole concept was so foreign to him, like, he didn't get it. He didn't understand. He couldn't get past the normalness of it to put himself in their shoes. To him, it was just this, why would you be going through all this? Like, he couldn't grasp why you would do this. And I remembered I'd gotten so tired of hearing him, grumble about this that I finally said, you know what? Because she had the operation, she'd come back to work after the operation, fully as their chosen gender and everything. And I was like, you know what, Dad? She has more balls than any of y'all because she knew what she wanted, who she wanted to be, and she went out and she did it despite people like you. And my dad never talked about it again. Like the light bulb, I think, finally came on in his head, and he had never thought of it in that respect. And so I shut my father down, and it was kind of eye opening to me that I could do that. Um, but yeah, it was such that was the here he was and here I was, and I just was like, enough. Um, so that's sort of my dad and I. Hi, Kay. Happy, thank you so much. So um, so yes, the story starts. Book two, The Fire Inside, starts in Seattle, but Anna lives in Fort Worth, and so we were introduced to the team, the ex SEAL team in book one, in the fire, Into the Fire, when they came to pick up Raven and take care of her in the safe house. So their first introduction happens in book one, but this is the real introduction to this because this is when we really spend time with these guys. And so you meet Nate, you meet Walt, and you meet Malcolm, and I'm trying to get everybody's name. Nate, Walt, Malcolm. I feel like I'm missing someone. Oh, I cannot believe I feel like I'm missing someone. Elliot. Elliot. So you really get to meet them and be introduced to them in this book because we spend so much more time with them, and it was fun to play with them and play with their senses of humor. And I actually had some very strange headcanon of some beta readers. One was like, "Why are you putting in so much military jargon?" And I went, "Well, they were in a Navy SEAL team. And if you've ever been around military people, when they get together with other military people, or just in general, they will use military jargon. My dad grew up understanding military jargon. I knew what a snafu was, what a foobar was. I grew up with this jargon. And so I know. And I've also encountered my dad meeting up with other military people and how they would talk and how sentences would be finished by somebody else, even though they didn't really know each other that well. It's that experience together. And I know that if I read a book that has military people in it and I don't get that military jargon and I don't get, some things, I'm like, oh no, 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 you lost me because now I believe your guys are military. So I was like, I'm sorry, but it has to go in for me. Um, uh, what else? I wanted this to be a second chance romance, because I love those. I love when you get a second chance at love, um, because you have that angst that's there from the pain, of the first time. And I really wanted to take Anna into some deep places where her brain is trying to piece together how this happened to her and who she can blame and things like that and what she can do with her pain. And yeah, she turns Tony into a little bit of a punching bag there for a bit, and he's like, I'll go ahead and take it, but you don't know the truth. And he flaws it to her one day, and I was like, yes. Um, uh, I absolutely loved putting these two together. Um, I remember I was writing, and here's a trivia for you. What is the number one thing that they do together that in the book that is their thing? And their thing is this thing where they offer each other their hand. And so they'll put their hand palm up and they're waiting for the other person to put their hand in. And it's that whole trust. And I did it the first time in the book I was writing, and you know, no matter how much you map out, there's going to be parts that come out as you're writing. And as I was writing, I had this moment where I had Tony put his hand out. And just offering it. And when she put her hand in his, it clicked that's their thing. That's their thing. And so I brought it in a few more times throughout the book that it was their thing. And it could convey emotions without me having to say so much sometimes. Um, the other thing was mirror symbolism. I used mirrors a lot in this book, and that's the reason why the first cover that this book had a rearview mirror, um, because he spends a lot of time in the first half of the book watching her through the rearview mirror because she's sitting in the seat, and he watches her emotions and he watches what she's going through, and it's very much I loved that idea of the mirror. And I knew at the end I wanted to have a different thing at the end. And so at the end, there's them looking in the mirror at the hotel, standing side by side, and not that distance between them, but actually them side by side. Even though I, I have a funny moment right after that mirror, um, I knew that was going to be there. That there was going to be a moment with them in mirrors. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of mirror, like her looking in the mirror when Sebastian does what he does when he attacks her. Um, so to win, yeah, okay. So here's how you can win the giveaway. So the giveaway includes a paperback copy of Fire Inside, book plates with my signature, and character stickers. So you have to answer me, what is the free book that was given away for this? What was the novella, um, the free novella for the promotions for this book? Um, I'll give you a clue. Uh, has a Christmas scene on the cover. There's your clue. So if you can answer that in the chat, um, and in the comments, and you are like and subscribe to my channel, then I will contact you through YouTube and work with you on getting your copy. So that's that's how you can win uh, the free paperback of The Fire Inside, book plates, and character stickers for The Fire Inside. Nice try, Kay. Nice try. Okay, so we're going to have a little intermission before I talk about the second book. So grab yourself something to drink, get up, move around. We've been here for over half an hour, a little bit. So, um, yeah, I need to pee. Oh, shit. But that would be me. All right. And we're back. So, sorry about I need a little intermission for myself. Uh, so let's start the second book birthday and the second giveaway of this bash. So the second book is the recent book, If the Seas Catch Fire, book 3 of the Fire series. Um, this book I had been waiting to write. Oh, had I been waiting to write this book? I have been teasing this couple since book 1, Into the Fire. Steve and Mallory have been a fun couple for me to tease. Um, and I was so happy to finally write the two of them, even though I was so mean to Steve. I was so mean to him. Um, so this, of course, as you can tell, Steve and Mallory's book. Steve is an old um, Navy buddy of Tony's. That's how Tony got his job with Travis, because Steve is also a friend of Travis's. Um, and um, Steve and Travis met when Steve headed out to LA and Travis headed out to LA to, make their mark. And they slept each other's couches and they did all the things. And I kind of base this off of, some other people in Hollywood. Um, And Steve is definitely the class clown type character. He tries to hide his emotions uh, through being funny and sarcastic and things like that. And Mallory was based off of a character from another author's book series because she was just Spitfire and I loved her. And I was like, oh, I want a character like that. And so Mallory became that character. Um, I really got the idea, the inspiration for this book, the style of this book, because this one's more of a thriller than the other ones have been. Um, because I based this one, I really got inspiration from two um, uh, thriller stories. The Net with Sandra Bullock and Deep Throat. I wanted that kind of um, spider in a web kind of thing where somebody who sends out the minions to do things. Um, and so I pulled what happened to Anna into this book because I was like, that can't be that can't be an organization that only happens there. Um, and I was like, no, it has to be a bigger organization. And so I was like, all right, this will be something that Tony would hand to Steve and say, hey, I know you're a journalist, freelance journalist. Maybe you can dig into this, and that kind of thing. And who knows how many people you might be able to help us save. And so yeah, um, that's how it kind of all ties together. Um, Mallory is Raven's best friend, and she has commitment issues. She's commitment phobic um, because she hasn't really had great examples of love in her family. Even among, her family members, there isn't great examples of love. So she has that real disconnect and things. So I really wanted this to be those cases where it's the woman commitment phobic and the man who is not. Because too often we don't give men some of the romantic credit that they deserve. I also wanted to bring in the darker side of the Me Too movement. When I was writing this, we were still in the throes of that. Um, and don't get me wrong, all movements begin with good intentions. And I hashed Me Too as well because I am also a survivor. But I do think that anytime there is this much pressure in the bottleneck, you're going to find people who are going to use that to their advantage and to hurt other people. And they're not going to care who they hurt in any way. Um, I mean, Destiny Hon? Um, so I really wanted to capture that and talk about the darker side of movements and how they can be used. And so, really, what I wanted was what is the best way to discredit? How do you get rid of somebody who's looking into you and in looking into your illegal operation? And so, the first thing that came to mind was you discredit them. You make them so unlikable and so hideous that no one will believe them. And so that's what I did to Steve. I had the bad guys basically try to discredit him on every front. Did they expect Steve's friends? No, they did not. um, So in this book, we really get to see the ticking time. My clock for this book was Travis and Raven's marriage. So I got to plan their wedding. I picked their beautiful ring, which I have shown pictures of the ring before. It's an Etsy seller made the ring, and she is credited in the book um, because it's absolutely gorgeous. Um, and it was really fun to plan their wedding. Um, and so that was added external conflict um, for Mallory. Um, so Mallory had issues in the book as well. So poor Steve's going through all the things that I'm making him go through, and Mallory is basically she's having to learn things. She's really having to learn her boundaries and who to trust, and that kind of thing. So I really had Mallory learn a lot, and I had poor Steve go through a lot. Um, Not that he didn't have agency, but he tried to do everything on his own. And yeah, so it was hard. It was hard. I had a lot of fun um, because I got to bring in a character based off of one of my favorite actors, Duncan Clark. Oh God, what's his name? Or what was his name? Um, King. And he played in Kingpin, but it was an older version of Kingpin. It was for the in it was in the older Daredevil movie. Michael Clark Duncan. Um, so I wanted that voice. I wanted that beautiful smile. Um, and I just wanted that personality. He was such a sweet and beautiful person. Um, that I will miss him for a very long time. Um, but yeah, so Mallory's one of her friends and her co-owner of her business is based off of that actor. Um, and that book, it was not a hard book to write. Um, it became easier to edit this one. um, because I started using some tools that made editing much easier. Uh, I think the hardest part of this book was how many things I had to pull from. I do have a funny story. So, a little trivia for you. I knew that they were going to destroy Steve's bike, his Harley. And I was thinking of all the ways you could hurt someone's Harley. And I kept thinking, how people work on their bikes and how they shine their bikes and the chrome and things like that. And I was like, what if you took a blower torch to someone's chrome work? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that would be terrible. But I could not find references. I could not find a reference photo of a blowtorch chrome. And I was talking to the person who has touched every single one of these books. And she's helped me developmental edit a lot of these books. And so she knows my characters about as well as I do. And we were talking. I was like, I just can't. I want to portray the image. I want to know what it looks like so I can write it. And she is like a search engine guru. If you are looking for something, she will find it somehow, some way. And she found the picture for me of what a blowtorched chrome looks like. And I was actually able to write that in the book. Um, but yeah, Karina, thank you so much. You are awesome. You helped me with that. And the people I have to thank the most for and help me get through these books the most is Jen. Um, she's here through the whole roller coaster ride um, of being an author. Oh, I'm gonna get a hug. Oh, thank you. um, she really is here for the whole roller coaster ride because you go through so many emotions writing a book. And no matter how many times I've thought, um, you of course will have things happen when you're writing, and you may not know the emotions you're going to be going through. Oh yes, yes, AJ was a big help too. Yes, yes, AJ is a big help. Yes, she is. She is a big help, aren't you? Yes, she is my supervisor, and she will tell me to go take a nap. What gets me is that you plot these points and you plot these characters and you know how the story's going to go, but you don't plan for the emotions. And and yeah, I've had some times where I've had to step away because I'm like, oh, that's gotten too much or too close. Um, but I loved writing Steve and Mallory's book, and I was so happy to bring it to you guys, even though it was a little late, um, later than I wanted. It was supposed to be out in 2023, but it didn't get to happen the way I wanted. So it came out in March of 2024. Um, but yeah. So again, here is the second giveaway. You will win a paperback copy of If the Seas Catch Fire, exclusive book plates, and a collection of stickers featuring the characters. If you can name me the novella or short that was promotion for and is still up for free, um, for If the Seas Catch Fire. If you can do that, either in the comments or live, and like and subscribe, um, you will get a free copy of, you will get all of that. So again, uh, the first one is what is the story, the free story that was given away for promotion for The Fire Inside. Your clue was it has a Christmassy scene on the front cover. Um, and for the giveaway for If the Seas Catch Fire is what is the still free book that was the promotion for If the Seas Catch Fire. Um, tell me those and you win. So I will be accepting those comments until the 17th is when the giveaway will end. So get those in because I'm not working next week. So here's your update about what's going on. I am having surgery this week. I'm going in for laparoscopic hysterectomy. And it will be an in and out procedure, hopefully. Hopefully, I will get to go home. But it is a recovery. I am taking the week off next week, and I will start light duty on the 17th, hopefully. Um, and so I will not be doing tea time or uh, writing sprints next week. Um, but I will be keeping up with you guys. I will let you know how I'm doing. If you're on the Discord server or on the Facebook group, I will also try to keep you guys updated however I can. But thank you guys for being here and hanging out with me, even if you are seeing this later in the playbacks. Let me know your favorite book in the Fire series. Um, your favorite parts, maybe. I would love to hear from you what you've liked about the book so far. I um I am 4 chapters away from finishing the last the newest short or novella that will be given out for free, Small Embers. Um and so once I'm finished with that, I can start formatting the box set, and I can get that to you guys hopefully this month, later this month, if not early April. But I'm hoping for this month. So keep your eyes out, keep them peeled. Coming. All right, everybody. I will see you later. Have a fantastic weekend, or yeah, weekend. I will see you tomorrow if you take part in my writing sprints. So bye bye, everybody. Happy birthday.